Well, good morning and welcome to Breakfast Extra for a Saturday morning here. And let me also say welcome to Lagos, the center of Nigerian politics, or at least the branch campus. I start by saying that this morning because politics in Lagos is not the same kind of politics practiced across the world. Now, this one is special. It's locally engineered, keeping assembly members craftier, party members aligned. They are light years ahead. If you don't get that joke, then you weren't born in the 80s. In any case, you see, politics in Lagos is specially adapted to weather conditions, built for traffic, ambition, and survival. Here, politics is not just ideology, it is relationship management with consequences. And if you graduate well from this system, hey, you could go on to become the president of Nigeria. I mean, just ask the president. He didn't just look the part, he actually, wrote the curriculum, he printed the handouts, and he still occasionally marks exam scripts from home. As a rock. And here is why this matters. There is this story going around that Femi Gbajabiamila says he almost lost his job as chief of staff because of Desmond Elliot. A former actor still pulling up plot twists and sequels in Lagos State Assembly during the Lagos State Assembly crisis from last year involving Mudashiru Obata. If you remember that, we covered it here on the show. Now, on the surface, it sounds like ordinary Nigerian politics gist. Somebody offended somebody was summoned somewhere, somebody almost got surcharged. The usual stuff. But if that is all you hear, then you're listening to Lagos politics with only just one ear. Because this story is not really about Desmond Elliot. No. It isn't no Nollywood, show or movie with just one protagonist. No, it is about the machinery itself. Where your godson eventually becomes your antagonist. See, Lagos politics operates like a very disciplined secondary school where everybody wears a uniform, but some people also secretly know where the exam questions are coming from. On paper, everything is straightforward. You can have elected officials, lawmakers make laws, commissioners running ministries, local government chairmen smiling beside drainage projects. Democracy, well, it looks beautiful, right? Yeah, but underneath it all, that official structure is another structure entirely. A quieter one. The real operating system. The place where influence travels faster than official memos. Where loyalty is not announced, it's observed from the top. Where one phone call can actually just cancel the confidence of an entire press conference. It's not just, illegal, or rather it isn't illegal, so don't worry, calm down, it's just Lagos politics. Now, in that kind of environment, Desmond Elliot is not just one actor turned politician representing Surulere. Gbajabiamila is not just one chief of staff to the president. Both men are actually connected to the same wider political ecosystem. Same network, different floors, and in Lagos politics, floors always talk to each other. And this is the important part here, because when something happens inside the Lagos State House of Assembly, it doesn't just stay there. No, it enters the elevator, starts to travel upward, and before you know it, people in Abuja are suddenly discussing something that started beside the Third Mainland Bridge. And that is why Gbajabiamila's statement is interesting. So just stay with me here, because here is where it gets interesting. See, what he revealed, intentionally or not, is how tightly connected this political structure really is. A disagreement at the state level allegedly creates pressure at the federal level. Suddenly, the presidency is asking questions, DSS is reportedly making calls. Everybody is checking alignments like, WAEC invigilators. And honestly, Lagos has always had this kind of influence. It is the only place where local politics can behave like national security briefings. One small movement inside the assembly and people start speaking in careful tones. Meetings begin to happen. Phones become hotter than generators in Alaba. Because in Lagos politics, connection is everything. Who brought you in matters. Who you stand beside matters. Who mentions your name in the wrong room matters even more. Sometimes your problem is not even what you did. It is the political surname that you're carrying at that time. And in this case, Femi Gbajabiamila's was the one. And this is where the satire ends, because democracy is supposed to be simple. Citizens vote, leaders govern, institutions stand independently, everybody respects the process. But here, Politics sometimes behaves more like a family WhatsApp group where one cousin misbehaves and suddenly everybody is being asked to explain themselves at the family meeting. So when Gbajabiamila says he almost lost his job because of Desmond Elliot, the real takeaway is not scandal, it's structure. It's a reminder that Lagos is not just a state politically, it's a network hub. And when something shakes inside that network, the vibration travels far beyond the original room. Which means in Lagos politics, your actions matter, but your associations matter even more. And sometimes your name can arrive before your explanation does. And then you just might lose your job. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Breakfast Extra. My name is Matt Appeal, and of course, I'm going to be joined by Ina Masso this morning. Stay right there. We'll get the conversation started in just a minute.
A very, very good morning and welcome back to Breakfast Extra. It's good to be back. I am Ina Masso. Now, today on Breakfast Extra, as the countdown to the 2027 election slowly begins, Nigeria's political space is already heated up with defections, with coalition, with tensions, and growing fears around political hostility. Today, we examine the cracks within opposition politics, the controversies surrounding the Obidient Movement, and what these early battles could mean for the country ahead of the next elections. We also take a closer look at the deadly shooting near the University of Benin as police investigations continue and concerns grow around campus security and cult-related violence. Our correspondent brings us a special report from the scenes in Benin. And then later, of course, we focus on the pressures crushing small businesses as transportation costs continue to eat deep into profits, access and across Nigerian markets. Why are more traders shutting down, and what does this say about the wider community? And of course, on Extra Special, we mark the International Day of the Boy Child with conversations around masculinity, emotional pressure, identity, and challenges many young boys now face in silence. And then, of course, across Africa, we head to Southern Africa, where the South African President Cyril Ramaphosa is under renewed pressure as the Farmgate scandal sparks fresh calls for impeachment and questions about political accountability. And of course, on Weekend Warrior, as we remember Nollywood actor Alex Ekubo reflecting on his talent, his contribution to Nigerian cinemas, and the painful reality of losing gifted voices soon. It's a packed morning of politics, security, economics, the economy, identity, and reflection. So from us, good morning and welcome to Breakfast Extra. Good morning, Mazino.
Welcome. It's good to have you back again. Boy, was I glad to see you.
Really?
Now we get the South African pronunciations right. Ramaphosa.
I'm here for it.
It's called a trill. That's like a vocal trill.
Yes.
Ramaphosa.
Yes.
That's very nice. You're welcome.
Thank you.
I managed to say hi to her sisters this morning, and they don't believe my South African accent is the best.
Yeah, you're sounding very Wakanda.
But they believe in a Nigerian man, don't they?
They do not. They do not.
It's good to have you back.
Thank
About
you so
Farmgate, what's your opinion on that? The whole Ramaphosa thing and all. Oh, no. I understand. You don't want to get into it because you got flack from the last time we spoke about your country.
I've been dragged, but I don't know. I don't think they can drag me further than they've dragged me already.
Hey, don't worry. We'll just get you married to a Nigerian man and then you'll be national.
Yeah, that's how they say I sold myself out.
Well, it's all good. Tell you what, in a minute, we're going to be doing the papers. And of course, we're going to be going to our very first conversation. But I think first we're going to be checking the dailies. Are we? Yes, we are. So let's start our dailies this morning. And let's start, of course, with the... Oh, hang on a second. Let's take a break. And then we'll come back with the papers. Here we go. Grand. It was very important that we did that little sting there. So there you have it. Let's get started. Let's start with the Punch newspaper for Saturday morning here. Now, big headlines. First off is terrorists strike 3 Oyo schools. This time, very sad front page news for the Punch. How gunmen killed assistant headmaster, motorcyclists abducted teachers, pupils. Oyo shuts schools and 4 LG security agencies hunt kidnappers. and many Borno pupils captured, lawmaker fumes. That's a very, I mean, it's coming down home, and that's us here who live in the south, but quite frankly, they've always had these issues. So up north, rather, they've always had these issues. But yeah, spreading, I guess it will be the fair thing to say, unfortunately. Now, popular TV host estranged wife spilled dirty extramarital secrets. Chike apologized, but did not leave my wife, says Frank Edoho. Do you know Frank Edoho?
I heard about it.
Well, he is one of Nigeria's biggest TV icons.
So who wants to be a millionaire?
Who wants to be a millionaire? Intelligent man, not too tall. Love him though, love you, I do. But apparently his issues are getting hotter and hotter on social media. Everybody's talking about his divorce and the matters around it.
Divorces.
That involve other very notable or popular individuals as well. Some you may know. And it's just a sad situation because I think social media has brought us into an era where things that were supposed to be private, absolutely private, now become public conversation, and that just really messes up everything, messes up judgment, messes up your sanity, mental health, and it's a very sad situation if you ask me. Unfortunate for him. I hope they both take care of these issues, and we don't need to hear all of this. Going back to the Punch front page, AMVCA win, reward for my private sacrifice, says Uzo Arukwe. He's a great actor too. And hospital raid, EFCC bows after backlash over night abuse. We're going to talk about this here today on the show. Under their kidnappers killed 18 victims during my 9 months in captivity, says businessman and influencer. Blessing CEO yet again in the news, this time remanded for over 36 million naira fraud. I bet we'll get to the bottom of that one because she's always in these instances. The very first time she claimed the person's house and was arrested for it. The last one, and there were others in between, she claimed she had cancer and wanted contributions. And then there's this. So I don't know how much scandal becomes too much for an individual. That's just crazy.
Unfortunately, we live in a society where to be an opportunist works for you. It's up until you get caught, but until you are not caught, to be an opportunist is a thing. And I think she has found a way to master it, and she rides off the sympathy of people.
Yeah, exactly.
And she has turned it into a conglomerate, actually.
A conglomerate, that's the word. Which is very sad because one of the issues she had was one where she claimed she had cancer. And remember that we only just lost dear Alex Okubo to cancer. So it makes it very, very emotional for people right now who claim, I mean, this is who we should have had our attention on, but yet we wasted it on this lady who turned out to be a charlatan.
But it also shows the difference, though, because if we look at how he went about it, Alex, and what she did, nobody heard from him. Yeah, you get me?
That's the point. The real matter is don't shout out loud.
Yeah.
And, you know, these seeking for sympathy, you just have to examine them.
Very questionable.
Yeah, exactly.
Mazino, let's move on from there. Let's go to
the
Guardian.
Will shut up.
Hey?
You just said, shut up, let's move on.
No, I didn't say, no, I did not. Apologies.
I'm joking. It's Mazino, don't worry.
Let's go to The Guardian. The Guardian today, I'll start with the top there. Twist and turns in Nigeria's 18-year digital switchover journey. I won't comment on that. Why Africa must harness cocoa chocolate's global market expansion. I think that's a good one for us. I think the headline right there says, Tinubu in Kigali. Reforms already stabilizing Nigeria's economy. That's on page 2. This is my problem. And I know there's a conversation that we're going to get into like tomorrow, but I think it was so bad that for the first time, and I don't think, you know, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu it makes it a habit to sit on panel discussions, you know?
This will be one of the very few times.
Actually. Yeah. And it was such a cringe moment when he was having the session with, you know, the moderator. And anytime he would talk about, well, Nigeria, or we're at a time where, you know, Africa needs to put its mouth where its money is. Yeah. And the lady kept on going back and saying, but why aren't you doing it? When are you going to do it?
So this is the thing, and this is why people in political offices, especially the president, need to be media trained and not just talk at people, but talk to them.
That's a very good one.
Yeah.
He says there to motivate his argument, it says describes a subsidiary removal, tax reforms as necessary sacrifices. I don't disagree there. And then he says Nigeria must support local industries, deepen regional cooperation. I think this is something that we still lack in Nigeria when it comes to supporting the local talent. We don't do that. And that was where that tax reform at one point came in to say, but you are sourcing France to come in and assist us with tech. And we say we're supporting local. We aren't really
totally
doing that.
Nigerianized at this point. Keep going.
The NBC bond strengthens ties to deepen industry collaboration. You can find that also on page 3. On the far left, 2027, SDP writes INEC and submits Adebayo's details as presidential candidate.
Yay for them.
That's the turbulence in the politics right now. And then right underneath there, it says new FX operational guidelines take effect from June 1st, says Cardoso. And then on the other side there on the far right, it says the CBA, the SIFC FIN, Unite Agent Forency in 2027 elections. And then in the green there, it says police dismiss officers for robbing victims of 19 million naira in phone point heists. That is a very big problem for me. It's a very big problem for me. How are police that are supposed to, are been sworn in to protect, can literally rob people 19 million?
Well, the thing is, once again, you give people guns, you give them authority, and you don't take care of them. What do you expect them to do? They'll turn around and become the bandits themselves. Welfare for the Nigerian police. Oh, you haven't been here the past 2 weeks. It's been police matters we've been discussing. Guess who we had as the poster child for Barak's children? Of course, our very own Queen Celestine, because she grew up a police officer's daughter. So she actually understands emotionally what police personnel go through. So it gives you a deeper understanding and sometimes empathy. But they're not empathy enough for you to now criminalize your authority or criminalize your position, or whatever it is you've been given. I do believe that might be the last paper. That might be the last paper that we would be taking for today. But don't you worry. We've got very interesting conversation coming your way. So do stay with us. We'll be right back with our very first one. Once again, you're welcome. It's Breakfast Extra. My name is Mazino Pil. Now, Nigeria's political atmosphere is heating up. Earlier than many people expected, actually. Across party lines, alliances are shifting, defections are accelerating, and internal battles are becoming more public. What should be a season of political strategy is already beginning to carry the language of hostility, distrust, and survival. From arguments over party structures to accusations of hijacked movements and questions around coalition politics, the road to 2027 is starting to look turbulent. Now, the concern for many Nigerians is not just who wins power, but what the process may cost the country. We're seeing growing anxiety around screening disputes, fractured loyalties, and the possibility of political violence if these tensions continue unchecked. The conversation has also widened beyond parties into movements, especially movements driven by citizens who believed they were fighting for something bigger than politics as usual.
Now, joining us this morning are Barry Johnson, International Coordinator of the Obidient Movement worldwide, and Olalekan
Anjolaya. He's right here. He'll correct us if we got it wrong. In any case,
Olalekan
Anjolaya.
Yeah.
So yes, remember I told you she's South African.
Don't shade me. We're coming to South African story. I'm going to let him try to pronounce the names when we get there.
In any case, you're welcome. Good to have you here. So we're moving into a climb where everything seems like where we should be structured and have direction. It seems to be going here and there. People can't even keep track of their party members, can't even keep track of their principles anymore. Coalition is a new word that we learned only just a couple of years ago. Not that it wasn't there, but it wasn't as fierce as what we see here. In your view, is this normal politics? Is this politics as usual?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the beauty of democracy, multi-party, right? Democracy is about freedom to do whatever you want to do. Freedom of association, freedom of speech, freedom to also, of course, be a member of a political party as many times as you want to, right? And we are guided by the Electoral Act, which, of course, stipulates times and guidelines to that effect. Yeah, but I mean, I'm excited about the fact that we have a multi-party democracy, and unlike before, when, of course, opposition seems to be concentrated in the ADC, and we're getting multiple attacks. And, of course, some of the leaders of the party were persecuted as against prosecution. We know that Malam Nasir El-Rufai is still in detention. I mean, the man is struggling to get a bail. I don't know what his offense are. I mean,
all his offense they were stated clearly. They seem not political.
Well, whatever the offense are, it's a bailable offense. But, I mean, he has been detained going to about 90 days now. So I'm saying that now it's going to be decentralized. The focus, the entire attack from the ruling party to, I mean, the major opposition, which is the ADC, is going to be decent. Now Peter Obi and Kwankwaso moved south, moved to, I mean, the NDC, and we can see Seyi Makinde leading the faction of PDP into the APM. It's going to be interesting. Another thing I observe is that this could also be a smoke screen to distract the presidency. Smoke screen in the sense that, you know, there was a convention in Ibadan of opposition parties, and they all agreed that they were going to present one presidential candidate. They signed a communique to that, and they made it available to the media. Days after we saw those political fireworks, I think that, you know, it's part of their strategy.
Smoke screen by who exactly?
Well, eventually, I see the possibility of all of these parties pulling down to support one president.
Which
now,
is?
I don't know. I don't know.
Plot twist.
I mean, but now when we look at it, as you just said, because none of us at this point know, many Nigerians are beginning to worry that the opposition space is becoming too fragmented for us. I know that I can't keep up anymore. And it doesn't inspire any confidence at all. Is this the concern? And is it justified to be concerned like this?
I think that the confidence will grow over time. We have not started campaigning. We're in the process of internal party processes, right? Today, the ADC in Lagos has begun their screening of potential House of Reps and House of Assembly and senatorial candidates of the party. And that is happening across, you know, the country, right? So confidence is going to build. Nigerians, and I mean the electorates, are going to listen to your manifesto. And of course, in a state like Lagos, where we have elitist voters, considering what happened in 2023, a lot of independent-minded they voted in an Etiosa that dominated Kings, the Legushis, the Oniros, even in front of their houses. People voted against them, right? So I think that campaigning in an election process is also going to shape the 2027 narrative. When we officially start to campaign, you will see that the confidence that the electorates or people might be lacking. I see there's a lot of political gerrymandering, people moving from one place to another, right? It might seem discouraging, but I mean, it is the beginning of something good for our democracy.
Well, Leka, hang on a second. Barry Johnson has joined us here. Barry, you're welcome. Thank you. We were missing you in the beginning, but thank you very much for joining us. Barry Johnson is International Coordinator of the Obidient Movement Worldwide. Let's talk about what Leka just spoke about here. Leka just talked about the fact that it would seem, am I looking at the right camera? Yes, I am. It would seem that fragmentations happening inside of political parties are intentional. You actually once called out the obedience movement and the usurpation by its principal at the time. And I'm wondering whether you believe this alleged claim that these fragmentations seem to be intentional.
Well, I'll say thank you for having me. Good morning, Nigeria. The truth remains that the reasons why you see things in the fragments in political parties these days is because of the attitude of Nigerian politicians way back. We are politicians who don't respect the rule of law. We are politicians who don't respect the constitution of our parties. So definitely there's one regime that has come, one electoral act that is really putting everyone together. So practically, if you don't make a mistake, there will be no lacuna on the issues of disenfranchising anyone and at the same time jumping from one party to the other. So practically, if you look at it, if it was in 2023, at this time, all the people fighting in the ADC or the APC will have gone to other parties. Okay, but now it's not possible because you must be registered. You must have your name on the e-registrar submitted to INEC before you can even be used as a replacement after the primary elections if you lose from another party. So it means that you are shutting yourself out by belonging to one registered political party at a time. For me, if you ask me, it's perfect. It's a good thing for our democracy. It's a good thing for our party politics. And at the same time, as an obedient person who understands that the rule of law is paramount in moving Nigeria forward. Nigerian politicians are not interested in following the constitution of their party. You saw what happened when Peter Obi was in the Labour Party. You saw how he jumped from the Labour Party to the ADC without checking the constitution of the party, without checking the body language of the people he's joining. You saw how he also jumped again to the NDC. So those kind of political institutions shouldn't be allowed.
I'm wondering if you are saying that these jumping around, as you put it, or his failure to check the parties are his fault or the fault of the structure of the parties.
For me, I see it as his fault because Peter Obi is not the only one in the ADC. Peter Obi is not the only one who went to the ADC from another party. We have Rotimi Amici there, who is doing very well. We have Atiku Abubakar, who is also doing very well. We have, I think, Tajuddin or so, one other guy that's not too popular. They are there. They took the risk to remain there.
Well, so they're doing well. They're doing well, but the party structure is failing. So it's not the individuals at this point. It seems to be the system itself, the apparatus that was
No, you are getting it wrong. A lot of people want to see that the system. Let me ask you a question. Is it not a good thing for someone to stop being a jumpologist in politics than staying in one place? It's jumpology, and it's not accepted. What kind of politics do you play? When you move from one party to the other, it means you don't have an ideology. It means you don't believe in the first place that this party can be used as a political platform. This electoral act has given Nigerians the opportunity to play real politics. I keep saying this. I am a political scientist by academics, and I tell you this act is perfect to help us build political parties in Nigeria ahead of general elections.
Barry, I feel personally attacked because I have been known to be a jumpologist in my career, jumping from one network to the other. But please.
Barry, let's take a look at that Obidient Movement, because recently you did make headlines after publicly announcing that Peter Obi had allegedly hijacked the Obidient Movement and he should be expelled. Based on what you are saying now, these are quite serious claims. And I want to ask you, what exactly led to that position and that statement being made?
Well, Nigerians don't really want to listen to what exactly happened before the Obidient Movement, the real Obidient Movement, moved by me or run by me, took such a decision. The decision that we took to push off Peter Obi and the UNISA Tanko leadership, it's because of the activities of these individuals. They prefer to run a private arrangement. But the ideologistic level of the Obidient Movement from its origin was not about any individual. It was not about Peter Obi at any time. The Obidient Movement started in 2022. The Obidient Movement metamorphosed from the NSAS to the NYDP, Nigeria Youth Democratic Party, that was formed during the NSAS, that was not given the opportunity to be registered under INEC. And we melted into other political parties. Like the first place we went to was the NRM. Before we went to the Labour Party, supporting Professor Pat Otomi, who said, we Nigerian youths must be obedient to any individual presented by the coalition in 2023. And that was where the Obidient Movement came from. The Obidient Movement was already formed before there was an endorsement. And when we formed it, it was OBE, not OBI. It became OBI when we endorsed Peter Obi as the candidate for the Obidient Movement. That's what happened. And now, because of the jumpologistic character of Peter Obi, scattering the Obidient Movement, right now as I'm talking to you, some Obidient Movement are in ADC, some are in Labour Party, some are in, some followed him, and some are in the ADC. So you can see the Lagos boy who nearly became governor in 2023, Badebo, he remained in the ADC. Why? He was supposed to follow Peter Obi, but he refused because the John Pology attitude has become too much. It's becoming a new political nuisance. And that is a scattering of any gathering that the politics has given us opportunity to do right from 2023. So the best thing to do is to expel them from the party, is to expel them from the movement and return the movement to its original form. And from there we started. Now we told the world that we are running an obedient movement spelled with OBE, and obedient for Nigeria. And we have not decided on any we have not decided on any presidential candidate. When we are ready to endorse the 2027 presidential candidate that will fight to the end with Ahmed Bola Tinubu, at the end of the day, Nigerians will see. And we are also having our national convention where we have tried to make sure that all our agents in the polling units across Nigeria, the 774 local government coordinators, the state coordinators, the regional coordinators, and the National Executive Council will come to Abuja for an international convention to elect an authentic leadership that will lead the Obidient Movement, OBE, for the next 4 years. That's what we're doing. The Obidient Movement is a political association. And we must be democratic at all times. No one man will just wake up and say, I appoint this person to become your leader. How can you appoint somebody who is characterless? How can you appoint somebody who was not even in the movement at the same time? Where was Yunus Atanko when we founded the Obidient Movement and we were on the street?
All right, Barry Johnson, we're going to come back to you. We're going to come back to you. We're going to come back to you. We really need to manage the time. I want to ask Lekan here some questions based off of what you've just said. Now, Lekan, according to Barry Johnson here, now that the cancer has been removed, the OBE, or is it OBI?
The OBI.
Has been removed. Yeah, I'm wondering where the ADC now stands when it comes to 2027 elections are coming. Do you think that... careful now, because Barry's listening.
Yeah, well, I think that the coalition was never about Peter Obi. Mm-hmm. It was about leaders coming together from various geopolitical zones to put their strength together, right? What is about to happen in 2027 has been tested and has been done before in 2023, but the opposition failed.
What exactly?
Everybody ran on different political parties. Kwankwaso ran in NNPP, Obi ran in Labour Party, Atiku ran in PDP, you know. And all of them saw that there was a 6.9 million, there was a 6.1 million, and I think Kwankwaso had about 1 million. Summing up that together, that's about 13 million. That would have defeated Tinubu hands down. So it was just commonsensical that they all put, their strength together, right? But you see, I think that, His Excellency Peter Obi, consistently, inconsistently, he's consistently inconsistent with moving. My colleague called it jumpology. So I would say consistently inconsistent because in Yoruba parlance, right, there's a Yoruba describe a bead, a waist bead or a bead. Mm-hmm. If a bead just cut off, it's always difficult to put that bead together. And that's what happened. You can see that Gbadebo Road Survival, the governorship candidate of the ADC, chose to stay in the party. And you see sometimes this is not political parties and its association should be driven by ideology and not just one person, right? So what we have in the coalition is, we are still wooing as many more people. You can see that the ADC even inherited late General Buhari's structure, where we have Malam Nasir El-Rufai, Abubakar Malami, Bashir Lawal, former SSG, and all of those politicians here. We are looking to woo men of mights and mighties to come together to see that, yes, let's put our strength together. But if you are not blinded by your own ambition, you should you should believe in, putting all of these things together. If there are no other motives to the reason why you are doing the jumpology, right? Because you cannot achieve anything alone. Yes, and we're going to vote across the 37 states, including the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, right? So I think that the way to go is for opposition to come together.
Right.
Whether you are in NDC or you are in APM, it is very, very important that going into 2027, the ruling party is a tall order.
Right.
And NDC cannot do it alone, you understand, except if they just want to run. Do you understand? So I think that we are not politically mature for, one person to just say, yes, I want to be president without alliances from the north or from the south. Do you understand? The alliance, the supposed alliance of Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, is that solid enough? How much does he put in that ticket? Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso only had Kano. And the same Kano right now is now fragmented. Shakarau has moved to APC, is now running in one of the central districts. The sitting governor is in APC. These were people that were on his side when he even had the 1 million votes. So my projection is I might not even have up to 300,000 votes in the said Kano, going into. So, let's just be, we should get our calculation right if we want to rescue Nigeria in 2027.
Barry, I'd like to come back to you just to follow up to the response that we just got in the studio. Nigeria genuinely, or in fact, does the opposition, when we look at the opposition and all these fragmentations, does Nigeria genuinely have the maturity, first of all, to sustain a united coalition? Or are we going to see, personal ambition? In fact, are we already seeing personal ambitioning weakening this objective in opposition?
Well, before I answer your question, I want to acknowledge the young man there. I respect you because you understand politics. I don't know if you're a political scientist, but you calculated crazy. And that calculation is perfect. And I tell you, you've educated a lot of Nigerian young people. And the Obidient Movement from my side will do you 100 T-shirts and will be sent to you our support.
They just bought you
for your question, madam. You see, if you look at the Peter Obi ideology as an individual, Peter Obi is too individualistic. In 2023, we supported Peter Obi because he was the best presidential material presented by any political party. And you see, every party, every politics, every electioneering process comes with a smell. I keep telling people, the smell of 2015 was Muhammadu Buhari. The smell of 2019, whether you like it or not, was Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. The smell of 2023 was Peter Obi. But the smell of 2027, we don't know until all parties present candidates that will be extracted by the Nigerian people. That's why we, the Obidient members, we say we will not endorse anybody until every party presents candidate. For the action Peter Obi has taken, look at it clearly. From the north, south, east, and west, back and forth, it's a clear manifestation that he is interested in Peter Obi as a person. And there's no way you can remove an incumbent president like Ahmed Bola Tinubu, who understands politics, who understands the politics of Nigeria, who already used the weapon of poverty to catch the Nigerian people. How do you remove that kind of person from being president of Nigeria? You need to play the politics. Remember, politics in our business is described as a struggle. Struggle for what? Power. Power for what? Development. Development about who? The state and the people. Why are you running away from the rule of law? Why can't you stay in one place and conduct yourself, pass through the rudiments of the primary elections? Everything cannot be free. There's no free meal in Freetown. We are in Freetown right now. We are looking on how to remove Ahmed Bola Tinubu and put somebody on behalf of the Nigerian people. Peter Obi, right now, as I'm talking to you, is running as an individual. My brother there in the studio already said it. Rabiu Kwankwaso will hardly get even 300,000 votes because a good teacher will not be able to fight his student. Rabiu Kwankwaso is a good teacher over the years, and the person who is governor of Kano State is a good student. So definitely it will be hard for Rabiu Kwankwaso, who is already known and seen as a vote seller all over the time that politics plays. He's a vote merchant. Everybody knows. He's a vote merchant. He's a spoiler. Who even knows whether Rabiu Kwankwaso is even playing his holy swear for Ahmed Bola Tinubu in that same party running with Peter Obi?
Well,
to scatter the vote.
But Barry, let's do the math here, and I'm wondering whether either party, any party is actually getting this right. Whether they know that politics in Nigeria, the votes actually come down to grassroots. I keep preaching grassroots because nobody really talks about the grassroots when it comes to elections. People keep talking about ideology, individuals, and how, you know, these influence the processes. But the real process is actually numbers. It's convincing people from the grassroots to vote. You had in the last elections 90 million registered voters. Out of 90 million registered voters, only about 10% of them actually voted, or actually 10% of them were the ones who voted for the APC. Now, what happened to the remaining 60 million registered voters? Nobody is convincing them, nobody's talking to them, nobody is pulling them along. And that's the missing thing here. If people do not know that this is where the real power is, then there is a problem. If the parties don't understand that they should go down to the bottom and then bring people up with knowledge as to this is your problem, this is how we can solve it, then is it about the individuals, the parties, the coalitions at the end of the day? If we all know that it's going to be disrupted at the end of the day because of personal ambitions.
Yes, I think what we are doing from the Obidient Movement, we said it in that press conference that we were going to give anyone we endorse for the 2027 general elections as presidential candidate, we are going to present 37 million votes across Nigeria to that person for the first time in the history of Nigeria, because we have already mastered the act of the mistakes.
How will you get those 37 million votes? What's the mechanism?
Because they are there, they are on the ground. These votes are
what's
there.
The mechanism?
These political parties and individuals don't campaign.
What's
they
the mechanism?
Don't campaign.
Barry, the mechanism.
They don't go around.
Okay, campaigning. But is that all?
Yes, they don't go around. They don't educate the voters. They just come up on election day thinking that they will be able to rig. They will be able to turn the tables. This is the first time the Obidient Movement will go out and speak to the people. As I'm talking to you, we have nothing less than 50 million new voters who are going to join us for 2027. They just graduated from the post-primary school, that's the secondary school in Nigeria. Those are our targets. So we are going to be moving from secondary school to secondary school. We are going to visit the 774 local government area in Nigeria just to make sure we get these young breeds to come defend the democracy of Nigeria by making sure that they come out to vote. A normal Nigerian young person does not know the value of civic duties and civic responsibility. And those are the things we want to do. All the money given to INEC to do voter education, most of the time, have been stolen by those who are at the helm of affairs. Do you see any voter education that INEC does? Do you see any town hall meeting? People like INEC who have such huge funds are supposed to come to us. You have the people on the grassroots. As I'm speaking to you, in all polling units in Nigeria, we have an executive council, like 5 people there. We have the coordinator in every polling unit. We have the women leader, we have the youth leader, we have the canvasser, and we have the agents. So how do you want to rig us out for the 2027 general election?
All right, then, Barry.
We have 5 people per 1 unit. 5 people, 5 obedience working as volunteer workers on election day. And we are going to have our own portal to upload results real time.
All right, then, Barry.
The only thing we'll do is not to announce the winner, but we'll make sure that the calculation of the result of who won is there for Nigerians to see. So for the first time, we'll tell INEC what to do and how to do it.
Monitor the elections. On election day, you have the machinery for that. But what about before the elections? Let me come to you, Leka. Now, I and my friend did a calculation, and the calculation that we got at was that if the APC wanted to double their winning numbers, all they needed to do was get 51 votes from every 774 polling units across the country. And I'm wondering whether his mechanism works, these 50 million new voters, as against this, let's proselyte, let's go knocking on doors. Let's get 51 people to say, yes, during the elections, we are going to vote for your party. We're going to knock, we're going to return, we're going to just go Jehovah's Witness on their doors. Do you think that mechanism works from a grassroots point of view as against this catching them young right out of secondary school process that Barry has just spoken about?
Okay, so I've been involved in grassroots mobilization, so I can speak to that. You see, first of all, I want to talk about the political consciousness of Nigerians, of young people. They are more aware. As we speak today in the studio, if there is crisis in Ikeja, right, it pops up immediately on the social media. As we speak today, even the security agency are now careful because we have people moving around with AI glasses, right? So there's a limit to how you can perpetrate corruption, how you can perpetrate any of these evil acts, right? That being said, we are in a generation of, if you do not behave yourself, we're going to escalate and we're going to make it public that you are constituting a public nuisance. Speaking to mobilization and grassroots engagement, we have, because I can speak to Lagos because I'm from here, right? It will shock you how much an average electorate know about the internal processes of political parties, right? In fact, there are agitations sometimes when non-party card-carrying members will actually advocate that a political party should present so person as candidate. You understand? That's because they are just waiting to go cast their ballots for the person. Now, speaking to numbers, I must commend INEC because, as about 2-3 days ago, they were in my community to register people massively, and they are doing that week in, week out. And they've been doing this for over a year, continuous voters registration. I think they are in phase 3 now, right? So a lot of young people, for example, in my own community, people who newly turned 18 came all out to register. And when my engagement with them, I was shocked at their political awareness. He said, I didn't vote in the last election, but this one I have to vote. So we are not enjoying this government. Well, because, they could feel the brunt of the struggle of their parents or guardians. So, there's a lot of reinforcement from young people, especially those who are newly turning 18, that might not be endorsed.
Is Barry right? Do they number up to 50 million? That's a lot. That's over half of the current population of registered voters.
I do not think that it will be up to 50 million practically. That's because we have not witnessed very significant political participation. I'm talking about voting at the polls, yeah?
Or registration.
Or registration. But I think that we are about to witness about 6 million additional voters to those who voted in 2023. Another thing that, of course, is we're getting wrong with these statistics, which, of course, I want to blame the government, is that, we do not have the proper statistics of the number of people in this country, the number of people even in Lagos, in Ogun State, and I think there was a time that the Buhari government, had disbursed resources for the National Population Commission to embark on that population census, but that did not happen. I was looking forward to it about that time to know exactly. You cannot serve people. You want to give us food in this studio now. You don't know how many people are in this studio. How do you serve people? So it shows that we have not even been served because they don't know how many people reside in where, in which state, in which local government. So it speaks to the maladministration. It speaks to the have-not. It speaks to, the reason why we are underserved. Governments do not have correct data of the number of people in this country.
Do you think, sorry to just cut you, do you think that from the government side, of course, because to a certain degree, when it comes to politics, it's a monopoly. And it's a game that everybody plays intentionally. Do you think that the government intentionally keeps that gap open to not necessarily have the correct kind of census? Because you are speaking about the numbers, but in essence, we don't necessarily know what the numbers generally are.
To allow space for you know what.
Yes.
But if they are doing that, it does not make sense because that statistics is even going to help government more than it's going to help me as a private citizen, right? It's going to help them to booster their security. It's going to help their social infrastructure. It's going to help their whatever they are devoting to education. Yes, sir. Do government even have the correct statistics of out-of-school children? So the government, I think they are not intentional enough in this aspect, right? So when we talk about vote, the only time we talk about number is when we want to vote. It's an absurdity, right? I think that outside that politics is a game of number, government should sit down and ask a very quick, how many are we in Nigeria? If you go abroad, now we don't even know the number of illegal immigrants, people who come into Nigeria and refuse to leave. And that might constitute, okay, I mean, I've traversed the Badagry border, right? We cannot speak to the influx of people that come into this country that are not from Nigeria.
That could
and
be utilized
you are
during
not
the
able
times
to
of
have also
elections.
track how they live. You understand? Number one, these people come in, the resources that is not even sufficient for Nigerians, they benefit from it. Now you are saying you cannot provide electricity, food cost inflation and all of these things. We are not sufficient in this country because we do not know exactly how many we are. So it's affecting government. If any government that wants to do the right thing about now, should first of all ask, that, okay, I want to cater for you. How many are you? If I want to give you money, I'll ask how many people are here. You understand? So, I mean, going forward, I think that we should not only discuss numbers when it comes to voting, right? Okay. But while we discuss voting, I can confirm to you that a lot of young people are participating in the 2027 election, which speaks to the fact that, I mean, Mr. Barry has some valid concern. He's a practical politician. He's talking about structure, and that is why he has a lot of confidence. Okay. And I think that I sympathize with the OBI movement for losing such a
Barry, we have to go, Barry, but we'll let you give your final entry. Real quick summary, 30 seconds if you don't mind.
Well, I'll just say thank you for having me. I appreciate this opportunity, and I'd like to call on all Nigerians who are obedient to the rule of law, respect for good governance, quality leadership, to stand by for the real, authentic OBE, Obidient Movement International Convention, where leadership will be squared. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us. Let's stay tuned, viewers, because we have more conversation coming up. But I think before that, we might be taking a little detour to pay respects to late Alex Ekubo. You stay with us. Welcome back again, and this time it's our Weekend Warrior segment. It's going to be a bit somber. Now, there are some faces that become part of the rhythm of Nigerian life without us even noticing it at first. Now, faces we grew up watching, faces that bring comfort, laughter, romance, and even heartbreak, and sometimes familiarity into our homes. Alex Ekubo was one of those faces. Nollywood is in mourning not just an actor, not just for an actor, but a generation of storytelling he helped to define. Now, his passing after a battle with cancer feels painfully heavy because Alex represented something rare in entertainment. Consistency. He represented grace, ease. He had presence without trying too hard. He could step into a role and make it real, make it feel natural, make it feel human, believable. Whether he was playing the charming lead, the loyal friend, the comic relief, or the emotionally wounded character, he carried a quiet confidence on screen that audiences connected with deeply. And for years, he remained one of the dependable pillars of modern Nollywood. Part of a new generation of actors who helped push Nigerian cinema into more homes across Africa and the diaspora. He helped shape an era where Nollywood became faster, sharper, more ambitious, and more globally visible. And yet, like many artists, it often felt like he never fully received the depth of recognition his contribution deserved while he was alive. And that reality hurts. Because sometimes in Nigeria, we wait too long to celebrate people properly. We become familiar with brilliance and start treating it like background noise until suddenly, one day, the silence arrives and we realize how much space that person quietly occupied in our lives. And then there is the cancer conversation itself. Behind every public figure battling cancer is usually a private war most people never truly see. The fear, the hospital visits, the physical pain, the emotional exhaustion, the families trying to remain hopeful in a country where healthcare remains difficult for many. Stories like this reopens difficult wounds and questions about awareness, early detection, access to treatment, and the silent suffering happening in homes across Nigeria every single day. But even in grief, there is gratitude. Gratitude for the laughter he gave audiences, gratitude for the scenes that made people smile after difficult days, gratitude for the memories attached to his films, because that is the strange beauty of art. Long after a person is gone, pieces of them remain behind in stories, in moments, in emotions they helped create. Now, Alex Ekubo may be gone, but somewhere today, somebody will still press play on one of his movies and laugh again. Somebody will still quote a line he delivered. Somebody will still remember how effortlessly he carried a scene. And maybe that is what legacy really is, to leave behind work that continues speaking even after your voice has gone quiet. To Alex Ekubo, well, we say, rest well, Alex. And thank you for the memories you've left us.
In today's big report, a university gate is supposed to represent possibility, learning, and safety, the beginning of what everybody deems the future. But for students and residents around the University of Benin this week, that atmosphere was shattered by gunfire in broad daylight. Now, the big questions are big, but also simple. Who carried out this attack, and what does it say about the growing fear around security in and around Nigerian campuses? The police say investigations are underway after a gunman reportedly intercepted occupants of a vehicle near the UNIBEN main gate before opening fire and fleeing at the scene. Authorities insist that those responsible will be found, hopefully, while concerns around cult violence and public safety continues to grow. Here now is our special report by Amenze Bazwaye.
Gunmen opened fire on occupants of a Mercedes-Benz GLK near the UNIBEN main gate on Sunday evening in what witnesses described as a targeted attack. One victim, identified as Alexander Omogiate, a 200-level political science student, was killed, while 3 others, including a passerby, sustained gunshot injuries and were rushed to the University of Benin Teaching Hospital. Unconfirmed reports link the attack to a dispute over an alleged internet fraud deal worth about 90 million naira. Edo State Police Command says the Commissioner of Police has ordered a full investigation to identify and arrest those responsible, warning criminal gangs operating around campuses to desist from violence.
They were all rushed to the hospital, and unfortunately, one of them, identified as Alexander, was confirmed dead by a medical doctor. The Commissioner of Police CP Monday Agbonika FDC has launched a full-scale investigation into this matter to unravel the circumstances surrounding the murder of Alexander.
The Edo State government also condemned the incident, describing it as brazen and unacceptable. I'm standing just outside the main gate of the University of Benin, where the attack occurred on Sunday evening. Normalcy seems to have returned to what many have described as a chaotic scene. Meanwhile, the university authorities have since distanced the institution from the incident. The university says the shooting occurred outside the campus and urged the public to avoid spreading unverified information capable of causing panic. Meanwhile, controversy has followed the reported resignation of the chairman of the university's anti-cultism committee, who alleged that he was pressurized to delete video evidence linked to suspected cult activities around the time of the attack. The university has yet to respond to the claims. For many students and residents, the incident has renewed concerns over insecurity around the institution. In Edo, for News Central, I'm Meze Bazwai.
I would like to say thank you to Amenze for such stellar reporting. Right now we have joining us two individuals from Benin. We have Dr. Bright Onyovukuko, Indomitable Youth Organization. Thank you very much, Mr. Onyovukuko. And also joining us via audio, we have Gift Osadiaye. She's an eyewitness and she'll be talking to us about what happened or what she saw during the instance. And Inem, you had some questions for Gift. Good morning, Gift.
Morning, Gift. If you can hear me, I think my question for you is, of course, I don't know at what point did you arrive to the scene, but can you just begin to walk us through what have transpired or what it is that you saw when you were on the scenes? Can you take us through it, your experience?
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. We can, yes.
Yes. Good morning. It was just a normal, regular Sunday evening where maybe people that went to church are just trying to go back home, or people just say, let's relax. It was just a very cool, the weather was calm. So I was coming from the Oluku axis. I was just there's a popular church around that area. So from there, that was when I heard gunshots. It's not one, it's not two, it's not three. It was multiple gunshots. Then people started running. I was in a public vehicle. So as our vehicle was approaching, from where I was, I could see the main gate. Then I was at the opposite side of the main gate, not the main gate side, the other side, coming from town, coming from the Oluku axis, yes. Then on our way, as the gunshot, I heard the gunshot. It was not one, it was not two. Then we saw people running. I was in a public vehicle. Everybody inside my vehicle was shouting, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. You saw people trying to run through the barricade of the road, trying to run. Then on the main gate, as we approached there was no soul on that place. You could see commercial vehicles, they have parked their vehicles. They have running. You could see people running for their dear lives because there was not a build-up to the event. It just happened. It was not like the incident that happened in Delta State that there was a build-up to it, that people could capture the scene of the event. People were just walking. People were just going out about their normal day activities. Nobody expected such a scene. Immediately people heard the gunshot, started running. Opposite the nigga, you could see people running extra scatter because it was not what anybody expected. Then the vehicle was just there. The man was inside the vehicle. I saw the man with my clear eyes. It's because I was with my baby, so I could not really record the tension, the fear on me. I was just Jesus, what could that? People would just run. It was after like 20, 30 minutes that people could even incorporate themselves to start capturing the scene, to start videoing what happened. So nobody really knew if the person was coming out from the school or if it was on the road. And maybe he saw the people that made him to divert to that position where the incident finally happened, because it was just too fast. It was just like a flash. So there was no build up to the event. It just happened.
All right.
Sorry, before we move to our other guest, if we look at the footage that's there, I'm not sure if you were at the scene at the time. I'm noticing a trend in how we report things, in Nigeria, especially as the youth. You see a lot of people taking footage and videos of the deceased. In essence, is that what the first responders were doing? Was there any assistance, any indication of them trying to get perhaps number plates or whatever it may be of those that committed this crime?
Okay. Is the question for me or for the other person?
Gifts, the question was for you, yes.
Okay, for me. As I've said, those people that you saw that went to start videoing, I was there. I could not even go close to this. Like, I was on the other side. At that main gate now, you can't cross immediately. You have to follow through the pedestrian bridge. before you can get access, for us on the other side, before you can get access to where the thing happened. And I can categorically tell you, those videos you saw online, after the incident, people did not rush there immediately. It took like 15 to 20 minutes before people could even go close to that thing. You can ask any, before people could go close to that thing. And it was more than 20, it's not that the way it just happened, that was that. No, people waited because they don't know who those people were. They don't know if they were strategically around that place. Everybody that you see going there, they didn't just go there a minute or 2 minutes immediately that thing happened. They waited. People had to dash their attention because it's not what you were expecting to happen. That's why when you saw them going there, nobody wanted to even go close to that place because nobody wants to put their fingerprint on the car or anything. You saw the video from afar. And because of the way the man was positioned, and because of the damages of the bullets, so many persons have their own interpretation to it. So from the pictures, you could even see that there was something has gone, something has happened already. So the incident, people didn't go there because you people that are not there, they don't really understand what happened that day. 10 minutes, people did not go to that place because everybody was still afraid, shouting, Jesus, what has happened? What has happened? People didn't go there immediately. It took time before you could see people gathering. So it was not like they started taking pictures. Because seeing what has happened, you yourself are afraid. You don't know where they are. And it was just like a flash, as I said. So for people to be taking pictures or start videoing, it's because of what their eyes have seen. That nobody wants to go close to that place. So I've seen some instances say something after people take the person to the hospital because they know that this person actually needs help. But that type of a person I have already seen, you're afraid. Everybody there was afraid.
Thank you, Gift.
You don't know what to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Gift, for giving us a very clear picture of exactly what you witnessed there on that day. Very sad that you had to witness that, and I can imagine how that affected your entire day, if not your entire week. Let's come to Mr. Dr. Bright Onyevokuko. I hope you're still with us. Yes, you are. Now, Bright, the word on the streets while we were awaiting police investigation. Yes, while we're awaiting police investigation, has it around cult activities, and you represent the, if I'm not mistaken, if it's the youth organization in the States. I'm trying to get your title out here. I'll get that. Inam, you can help me with that. So I'm wondering what the instance or how it. What can you tell us about the activities, the cult activities inside of Benin, or even the University of Benin itself?
Didn't get that, sorry.
Okay, I was asking about the cult activities inside of the University of Benin or generally across Benin. I'm asking this because you work directly with a youth organization.
He seems to have lost him, Mazino.
Right, I think we might have lost Bright.
Before we go to our next question with
Bright.
We do have breaking news coming out from presidency statement, of course. This is counterterrorism operations in Nigeria. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu says Nigeria and the United States forces have carried out a successful joint counterterrorism operation targeting Islamic State fighters in a Lake Chad basin. Now, according to the State House statement, the overnight operation led to the killing of senior Islamic State commander Abu Bilal al-Manuki, also known as Abu Mainok, alongside several of his lieutenants. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu described the raid as a major example of growing security cooperations between Nigeria and the United States in the fight against terrorism. He also commended personnel from both countries for what he called their professionalism and courage during the operation, while also expressing appreciation to the U.S. President Donald Trump for supporting the joint security efforts. The presidency says Nigeria remains committed to carrying out further operations against terrorist enclaves across the country. Mazino, back to you.
All right, that was breaking news there. Thank you very much, Inam. Let's confirm again if we have Bright Novokuka with us. Bright, are you back with us? Can you hear me, Bright?
I'm with you, yes.
Grand, Bright. Now, so you work with a youth organization, and I was wondering what you can tell us about the cult activities inside of Benin, or specifically inside of the University of Benin. What do you know about their activities? How present is it? How blatant has it become in the recent future? Recently.
Well, on the campus, I really cannot say so much about cult activities on the campus, but we've had a couple of information on that. Some months ago, somebody was killed within a campus, and even recently, that Sunday event that happened, I was supposed to, after I was meant to go to the campus that evening. I eventually went to the campus to get something, but while I was going, I was informed that there was a cult clash at the campus gate and that the gate was locked. But at the time I got to that place, I think there was calm, and I drove in, did what I wanted to do. Because on my way coming back, I actually saw the spot. Though the vehicle has been removed, I saw the blood and the shattered glass. Now, talking about court activities in Benin, or even in Edo State, we must give kudos to the current governor of Edo State, Senator Monde Okpebholo, for the approach he has applied recently in those activities. Because before now, somebody can tell you right on your face that he's a cultist and he will come do whatever thing he wants to do. But since the pronouncement and the action by the executive governor of Edo State, most of those activities have dropped. Many of them are actually gone behind doors, so we hardly just see them happening on the street or see people coming to, like before, you used to see people counting scores and so many other things. And those scores are actually lives that have been lost because of one court clash or the other. So we cannot actually say that it has been totally eradicated. It's still happening, but it is not as open or rampant as it used to be. So we must give kudos to the governor because of the body language he has attributed to it. Then back to this issue of on Sunday. Yes, if maybe it was court-related, but it's actually not a court fight based on information we eventually got that it was, let me say, a business dispute that warranted the taking of life. So if those guys perpetrated that act, actually cultists or whatever, it would just be said to be a coincidence. It would not count as probably maybe a court clash as the case may be. But to answer directly, activities of cultism or wherever has apparently reduced in the state.
So I hear you there. Clandestine as the activities of cultists may be, it's still happening. In any case, what about police response or the authorities' response? What about local leaders? What are they saying about these instances, or particularly this instance? Are there any leads? What do you know about this?
There are no clear information yet. When things like this happen, why investigation is still ongoing by the police, until they are done, they may not come out to tell you these are their findings, but you just be getting a pocket of rumors here and there, like the actual number of persons who were inside that vehicle, we don't know, but we know that we had information alleged that there were more than one person inside the vehicle, including a female. But what happened to the female, we don't know. Some persons said the female was hit with a bullet and she died. Other sources have also said she has come out to claim that she was not dead. So if actually she came out to claim with a claim that she was not dead, I think she would be a very good source of information right to the police. And one thing we could actually ascertain on this particular incident that there was a video footage that was shared that something like happened earlier in the day, but I wasn't too sure if it was the same guy who was in that video, that was the same guy that was shot inside that car, because no clear video of the guy that was shot. The video I think I saw, or a picture or something, was the brain that was, the skull, or rather the head that was shot directly and was open. So the clothes he was wearing, I couldn't actually get a picture of it because, of course, after the shooting, blood would have stained the clothes to compare if that was the same person who appeared in the video I saw earlier or after the incident. But all those things are left for the police to investigate and come up with their findings. And it will also do us good if the police can actually come up with their findings in terms of linking it to the footage that appeared in the morning, vis-a-vis also the complaint from the head of the person in charge, the chaplain in charge of issues of anti-cultism and other things, activities in the school that resigned. So if we could actually link them up and get information, I think those are the work of the police men. But one thing I will also quickly say here is the fact that these incidents has actually kind of drawn some attention and also some gaps. It's obvious from these incidents that the University of Benin, as it is, should have had like a CCTV camera in front of the gate, capture activities that are happening around the gate. So if that was in place, by now we should have been able to see some footage from the CCTV camera that could actually give a picture of what has happened. Except maybe they have it, they are yet to want to bring it up. But if there is no CCTV camera, this is a call for that. If there was a camera capturing activities happening around the gate, it would actually help. And of course, there is also a pedestrian bridge on that. And of course, this one will be to probably the state government. There can be a CCTV camera capturing the houses of towards the local houses, and of course towards the ring road houses, because in some other developed climes, when things like this happen, most of the facts that you get will be from CCTV footage in that environment. So this place is a place that actually have a CCTV camera. I just needed to chip that in to kind of maybe if it's a oversight that they've not paid attention to, because security as it is all about intelligence gathering and using those information to do something.
Well, Bright Onyovokuko, thank you very much for joining us. And Gift Osadiaye, thank you very much for joining us over audio. Thank you for bringing us the account. And of course, that suggestion there, Bright, was a very bright one, quite frankly, regarding the CCTV. And I do hope that the university authorities take that under advisement. Thank you. Now, let's brace ourselves for more conversations inside of Breakfast Extra. We'll be right back. Welcome back. It's our next big story here. Let's talk about what you and I go through every single day. Now, for many small business owners in Nigeria, profit is no longer determined by sales alone. No, transportation costs are now swallowing income before traders even open their shops. From market women moving food across states to small retailers trying to restock goods, the cost of movement has become one of the biggest threats to survival. And the ripple effects are everywhere. Food prices are rising, I'm sure you've noticed. Smaller traders shut down quietly, you've noticed that too. Customers buy less, and businesses that once survived on thin margins are now operating in permanent uncertainty. In a country where millions depend on informal trade, transportation, inflation is slowly becoming a national economic issue, not just a logistics problem.
Joining us this morning is Joe Femi Dagunro to help us understand what these rising costs say about the wider Nigerian economy and whether relief is realistically in sight. Thank you so much, Mr. Femi, for joining us. Now, at what point does transportation stop being a business inconvenience and becomes a national economic emergency?
That you can take it away. At every point, there will be need for transportation. Logistics is part of business. And there are other people too who are in this logistic business. So businesses can only survive with proper management of logistics or transportation, whichever way you look at it. And if the costs continue to rise, definitely it will affect the consumers. It's even affecting the small business owners as well. The most important thing for us is to continue to find means and ways of reducing the cost. And if this cost is not well calculated, there will be losses. And for how long will the small business owner continue to take the losses? It might be gradual, and from gradual it gets to a point whereby they won't be able to cope. And that is why we have to have this kind of conversation and at the same time encourage the government, if I could use that word, encourage, to do more. In Lagos State here, you see that you have blue rail, you have red, you have all these rails coming up. I mean, then you have to do more with water transportation in Lagos. So when we begin to have that, I think it will ameliorate some of these problems we are facing. But don't forget, most of the things we are talking is not just about the passenger kind of transportation, it's about goods. And these goods have to be transported from one place to the other. And this is where cargo business or cargo businesses have to be seen as a major business to support the industry, and at the same time bring it closer to those who really need this support. There might be need for maybe subvention, maybe whatever the government can do to support at this point in time that most people are now talking about Iran, the Strait of Hormuz and all that as being the problem of what we are facing globally. But then we have to look at it from the local angle as well.
Mr. Femi, Lagos is a very unique place on its own. I mean, look at the mass of people who move around every single day. But there's something that actually I find very interesting. It's that each time you look inside of any of these cars that are driving on these roads, you find that there's just one person sitting inside. So it brings up question about carpooling and all the rest, and whether we have the confidence to actually help strangers out on the way. But let's leave that aside. The suggestions that you've made seem to be long-term. Let's use the waterways. There's the BRTs. There's also the rails, which only occurs from the Badagry to, not even Badagry, from, let's just say from the Mile 2 axis to CMS. But what about suggestions that could work right now? What could Lagosians turn to ameliorate this current instance?
You just said one thing, and that is this carpooling issue.
I feel like I led you to it. I'm sorry.
The thing is this: you have people going just, sometimes it's funny, but it's not funny because of security risk as well. In those days, I remember in the 80s when if I'm leaving my end to VIA or wherever, I would like to, just take one or two people along with me. But the risk is too high right now to just say, okay, let me just wait and pick one or two friends. But it can be done differently. Even in the advanced countries, in the developed countries, they do it so that you know that this gentleman, my neighbor, works on the island if you're on the mainland. And maybe you just join together and say, listen, I'll pay you X amount of money so that he takes you there in the morning, and when he's coming back, he brings you back. So we have to adopt that system as well. And then when you're looking at the waters, we can start in waterways, making it work right now. We can begin to use the waterways right now, because it is not only the Badagry axis or the Mile 2 axis. You have the one in Agboyi here, can take the people around Agboyi, get you. You have the one in Mile 12. You have the one, in Oroshoki. You have the one in Ikorodu, which is functioning. You have them all over the place. It's just a matter of, having investors that will go into that and have some of the boats that will be, well made for the purpose. And then it has to be, you have jetties in some places that are not being well utilized or fully utilized. So if we begin to use that, and you can have, you have all these Uber and Bolt and every other thing, all these car sharing people and these car rides all over the place. They can have on the waterways as well.
But Mr. Femi, these are suggestions that could help the average businessman going to work in the morning. The traders, however, that's a totally different. They have goods to move, and the markets are not strategically placed in places where these waterways get to. I might be wrong there, but for the market trader, what can they turn to in these hard times? Or what suggestions do you have for the government for them?
If you reduce the movement of the people or the commuters, and then you have the people on the road, there will be lesser. So the goods can be, you have the buses or the trucks, they will be able to move faster, number one, and they will be able, it's not 24-hour kind of a thing. That it has to be planned, nevertheless. But you see, if you are moving from mile 12 to Ojuelegba, for instance, then the people on the road in the morning, the commuters who are going to work in the morning, there are many, and then these cargoes or the trucks, they might not be able to even work well within that period because the traffic on the road itself, and then they will charge higher. But if you reduce the commuters aspect of it, and then the traffic is lighter, then it is faster to reach where you are going, then the cost will be less in a way. Because the gentleman is looking at it, the driver is looking at it that instead of me spending 2 hours, I'm spending 4 hours. Then if I'm spending 4 hours, I'm consuming more oil or diesel or whichever way, and it has to increase. So all these things will work together. It can't just be that we say, okay, between a time frame, then at the end of the day, the marketers or the market men and women who will go and buy tomatoes or plantain, they'll be able to target themselves and say, okay, between the hours of 8 and 12, this is a peak period, and between the hours of days at 1 and 4, this is the period I can move my goods. So it has to be worked on. But at the end of the day, even the commuters who are workers, who are working around Lagos, they have the problem as well. The cost has risen so high. And then the aspect they're looking at, even the BRT, the cost of going in the BRT has gone up. So where do they, and the salaries have not increased, don't forget that. So it is from this salary they pay their transportation, it is from this salary they buy their food stuff, they'll pay their rent. So it seems everything is just going up at the same time. So, and the market woman too, we have to, the rent of the shop has increased, the rent of his or her house has increased. So all these things come together to cause this chaos in the market. And that is why we have to really think about it. You can't do it without the government support. So the government has to be, called in, and the government has to sit down with small and medium enterprises and figure out a way. And the way is just to reduce the traffic on the road and make it, even on the water side as well. On the waterways, we can take goods on the waterways.
Joe,
I mean, those days people bring goods from Ondo State to Lagos.
Mr. Joe,
through waterways.
If I can just interject there very quickly, you've made mention.
Please go ahead.
You've made mention of some very great points, and of course, in the beginning of the conversation, you did make mention of us finding some kind of alignment with the government. Now, when we're looking at it from a realistic point of view, what does the accurate kind of partnership or intervention look like from the government standpoint? Because, we're mentioning the waterways, we're mentioning reduced movement and all of that, but realistically, especially in Lagos, that isn't necessarily something that we would see happening immediately or instantly. What does realistic partnership and solutions look like for the average Nigerian?
Well, you see, the realistic aspect of it is what I mentioned as well. It may not be we start within 24 hours. It can't be done that way. Government has to put a couple of things in place. They have policies they have to put in place.
So what would those policies look like? I think this is the onus of my question to you. Yes, there are systems that need to be put in place, but in layman terms, what do those systems look like ideally?
Well, I think beginning from now, if you want to look at it, the immediate solution or immediate suggestions I'll give is just we have to make sure that we increase the partnership with the private sector in the area of logistics, the private sector in the area of transportation as well. It is when you have companies like GIG, when you have companies like all these other companies who are doing these logistic businesses, we can find a way. It could be the same thing like when we have these, maybe at a particular time, when you have the BRT lane, if this kind of organized private sector in the area of logistics can ply the road, then it will be faster as well. But you see, the government might be thinking people will misuse that because at the end of the day, by the time you say only particular cars or trucks can move on that, then you can't control it again. So, but if the system allows that between the hours of maybe 10 and 11 or 10 and 12, or let's just use any time, and they say, okay, trucks these organized ones, not the rickety ones that will break down the road and cause problems. Because most of the buses or the trucks you see being used for this transportation or logistics at the lowest level, they are rickety. So if you have to say, look, let's improve on this, these gentlemen and women doing this logistics, they don't have the money to even buy good ones, good trucks to move the goods. So the problem is a long term, and it has been an existing problem for a long time. So we can't have an immediate solution that we ameliorate or that we cancel all the problem immediately or the challenges. So we have to begin from, okay, what's the immediate one that I've just said? Look, the boats can come on the road, on the waterways immediately. Yes, you can do that. You just look at the target areas that we can begin to do that immediately. Then, like I said, maybe at a particular time when it's not a peak period, logistics trucks can move faster on these roads that was cleared for them. Then you now see that even the cost of...
We seem to have lost him there, but I do think that I see plenty of sense in what he's saying about reducing the flow of traffic on the roads for regular commuters, and I think that will really reduce the cost for goods transportation.
I don't agree.
Well, then on the last point that he made regarding what was that again? I just forgot.
The waterways and all of that.
The waterways, and there was something else he mentioned that I just think that these solutions can be immediately implemented. My next question was actually going to be about the fact that, yes, no subsidy, fuel prices went up, Strait of Hormuz and Trump, and then we have fuel hitting 1,500 naira per liter. What about policies that aid other energy supplies or energy uses? We have CNG. Would that reduce the cost of transportation? We have electricity, which I have a plan to actually test out. I'm going to borrow my friend's electric bike is what I'm going to do and see how that's going to serve me for an entire week. Noting that I have power struggles at home, however, and if I do have power struggles, I'm still going to have to fuel my generator to charge a bike. So will that help me? If it does help me, will it help the average Nigerian when it comes to transportation costs?
That's my thing. That's my thing. Literally, Mazino, when you have the conversation with the average e-hailing driver or logistics and all of that, I get what he's saying about peak hour, rush hour, and all of that stuff. But one of the biggest complaints from them is the fuel. And I think the other frustration that comes when we have conversations like this, especially in Nigeria, is we are having conversations where we always feel like we need to be aided in one way or the other. And when we have the realistic conversation and we see where the aid can come from, many of the things that we are putting on different entities, even for them, is something that's not sustainable. So we find ourselves in a conundrum of who can we speak to help us like this? Who can we? And that's where the realistic solutions now come in, and we say, well, everything that we're saying is good, but is it realistic?
Hang on, conundrum. I'm joking. But yeah, I do get you. And those are challenges that we also still, they're not answers.
Because I mean, even if we talk about the waterways and the boats now, do we have enough? Do we have enough? If we say we want to move now and, try and clear the roads and we want to make access to the waters, do we have enough? Let's look at the statistics of boat crashes and boats that have been sinking regularly.
They have been reduced in recent times, especially the Lagos State government. I can't remember what it's called again. If anybody can remind me in my ear what the Lagos State Water Service, I think it only just came online about a year or 2 years ago, and it's been quite effective. It's just that it doesn't move goods. Now, if the markets, when we talk about markets, we're talking about goods. It's how to get those goods there quicker, less expensive, so that the goods that you and I go to buy in the markets will actually reduce. So in the end, it's a
You don't want to get me started on the transportation in Nigeria.
Yeah, I know. But I will take you somewhere else, only next door, Benin Republic. These guys have put in structures to actually make you motorcycles accessible to many people, to everybody, in fact. And it's not something that's looked down by class. I mean, if you have a proper car at home, you're still welcome to use a
motorcycle
bike to
or
work.
a bike, yeah.
But in Nigeria, we certainly have these issues with class one. And then the motorcycle culture, especially here in Nigeria, in Lagos, is frowned upon because there are access to other things. There's accidents, there's crime, and there's all of that. But how can we make that, iron that out so that we have less actual vehicles on the road, better structure for motorcycles to use, like you have the BRT lanes, for instance. In Benin Republic, you have motorcycle lanes. And that's where I was going to. That's what I wanted to ask. Can we make these more accessible or more usable for people to say, okay, fine, I won't use my car because it takes a lot of space. Let me use a motorcycle instead.
Even the adherence, though, which is a point that he made, to say if you say that at this specific hour, buses and, whatever are moving at this time, the average Nigerian, and I'm not saying it in a strange way, the average Nigerian would be like, oh, okay, at this hour, only buses are moving. That's my opportunity to not be in traffic. And then they would just get on the road as well. So there's a compliance thing that also goes to some of the things that we want to implement. And it tends to be very pragmatic and complicated. So then we're like, okay, well, when we're having these conversations, what do realistic solutions really look like? I don't know what they look like.
Now, while we're thinking of just Lagos, this is a national problem, actually, because the people who have to transport goods from the north here also go through that. The increase in fuel prices is also affecting the transportation of goods across the country, not just within Lagos. So it's a bigger issue even than
everybody's trying to get by. I was literally so annoyed this morning because as I'm on my way to the office, I'm also trying to look for an affordable way to get to the office. And if you're looking at the e-hailing systems, InDrive is the most affordable, so to speak. And you will request, they will accept, then they will call you and then try and renegotiate price. And everyone is just frustrated.
So they're trying to, that's racketeering on its own. That's happening on that side.
Oh, God.
Well, you shouldn't have a problem. All you need to do is call the MD. I'm sure he's inside of the studio right now and ask for an increase in salary. But that there will end our conversation on this this morning. Thank you very much. We couldn't get back Dr. Joe, Mr. Joe, Femi, on the conversation, but we'll let it lie there. We'd like to say thank you to him for joining us and giving very interesting suggestions on solutions that can help the situation. To everybody out there who's going through what we're going through, we're all going through it. Don't worry, we'll make it in the end. Yes, there's got to be hope, and I think it lies in your very hands. If you choose the right leaders from the grassroots up.
Yes.
From the and I can't stress this enough, from the grassroots up, you stand a chance to make change.
I agree with that.
But when you sit down and just simply watch us talk about these things, it will never happen.
I agree with that.
Let's take a break. We'll be back with more conversation.
As I go and meet the MD during this break. You're welcome back. And now to one of our breaking stories this morning. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu says Nigeria and the United States forces have carried out a successful joint counter-terrorism operation targeting Islamic State fighters in the Lake Chad Basin. Now, according to a State House statement, the overnight operation led to the killing of senior Islamic State commander Abu Bilal al-Manuki, also known as Abu Mainok, alongside several other of his lieutenants.
Security cooperation between Nigeria and the United States in the fight against terrorism. He commended personnel from both countries for what he called their professionalism and courage during the operation, while also expressing appreciation to the U.S. President Donald Trump for supporting the joint security effort. The presidency says Nigeria remains committed to carrying out further operations against terrorist enclaves across the country. Now, joining us for this conversation are Awal Aliyu, security analysts, who will be joining us later. But currently we have Ima Niboro, Special Assistant on Media to former President Goodluck Jonathan. Ima, you're welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. Ima, would like to know how significant this is, the reported killing of Abu Bilal al-Manuki in the broader fight against ISIS in West Africa. It seems it's no longer just a Nigerian affair, it's now a joint affair with the United States. How significant?
Yeah, I think I'll begin by congratulating the Nigerian military. Since last year, when the relationship between the Nigerian armed forces and the U.S. has been a long-standing one. But I think at a certain point, the relationship kind of deteriorated because the Americans feared, because of certain operations, joint operations that they had and that leaked to terrorists and caused substantial damage to U.S. troops. I think the Americans eventually pulled back from joint operations with Nigeria. Well, that's quite a while ago, but since last year, when Trump came into the issue and promised to invade terrorists in Nigeria with guns blazing, I think the relationship has improved tremendously. And we must commend the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for standing very firm against terrorism. Love him or hate him, he has stood firm side by side with Americans. And an operation like this is a very critical operation. Operation targeting the person that even Trump himself described as the second most strategic leader of ISIS. This operation was executed flawlessly, without any leaks, without any danger to the Americans and even to our own troops. I must commend the Nigerian military, I must commend our security services for standing shoulder to shoulder with the Americans to deliver this. Now, the significance of this is this. This person here in Nigeria is called al-Manuki. I think the Americans call him al-Minuki, whatever is his name. He has been involved in a lot of terrorist activities here. Even the abduction of the Dapchi girls, I think it is said that he has his hands in it, that he actually led that. And you see how ISIS operations have actually redoubled in the Sahel, using the Nigerian territories around the Lake Chad Basin, as a takeoff base. So this is a very significant blow against the terror, and I'm glad and I congratulate the Nigerian forces for standing with the Americans to execute this.
Now, Mr. Ima, of course, the news did break via President Donald Trump on his Truth platform, where he released the statement. Now, but when we look at this from a strategic standpoint, what does a joint Nigeria-U.S. operation reveal about counterterrorism cooperation right now?
Yes, I think, like I pointed out, it's quite significant because time was when the Americans, I was special advisor to former President Jonathan. During that time, we tried to build this relationship with the Americans, but I think the Obama government didn't quite like us at that time. So they were, instead of them to work with us, they tried as much as possible to work against us. But even before that time, there were certain kind of areas of cooperation that we had, but eventually the Americans didn't follow through. Usually, basically because I think it was subsequently under Buhari's government too, there were issues about intelligence leakages. So the Americans didn't quite trust to work with us. And it was a very big issue. It was a very big issue. But I think we have overcome that now. For this kind of operation to have happened, it didn't leak, and it successfully took this guy out. It shows you that it's a new day in the Nigerian military. It's a new day in terms of our anti-terror efforts, and it's a new day in the relationship between the U.S. and Nigerian forces.
Honest, Mr. Niboro, while we're celebrating this, the death of Manuki or Minuka, do you think that this is a short-term relief or a long-term relief? I'm asking this because, yes, we've seen this cooperation happen. Yeah, we celebrated. But could this operation disrupt ISIS activities in the Lake Chad Basin long-term or short-term? Are we seeing this have grand effect on the fight against terrorism?
Well, you will see that sometimes it is hard to say, but when you behead a snake, the body thrashes about for quite a while, and then eventually dies out. But let me also point out.
Let me come in there now. In the Nigerian context, when you behead a snake, you get a hydra. We've seen that with Boko Haram. Remember, so put that in your...
Let me address that.
Okay.
Let me address that. Because if you look at, I'm not comparing apples and oranges in this case. If you look at the Iran case, I'm not saying that Iran is a terrorist state, but you see that the U.S. beheaded its leadership up to a substantial level. But each time you cut off the head, the other head grew out. You cut off the other head, grew up. You understand what I'm talking about? So it depends on what we are confronted with. If they have beheaded this guy, definitely he's gone. But I'm sure that they have their own replacement mechanism. They have their own succession plans. Yeah. So the more they come, if we keep the intelligence strong, we keep the process working, the next guy that comes will also be beheaded until they run out of leaders, and then they just leave us alone.
I mean, I agree with you in terms of that. And I think, Mazina, we've seen that it tends to be the strategy of President Donald Trump to take them out quickly. We saw it in Iran as well with the Ayatollah. But like we have just
Arguable,
mentioned,
but I'll just go with you on that.
we've noticed that in regimes like this and in groups like this, they often replace commanders instantly. How lasting could this impact be for this strike?
Well, like I said, we will find out. It is hard to know what the effect will be, but I can tell you that because these people are, you see, they are not operating in a normal environment. And this is pure asymmetrical warfare. So I don't think their leadership replenishment will be as fast-paced as if they were operating in a normal environment. These are people who are non-state actors, who are operating against, the norms of normal practice. No, this is not normal military tradition, where you don't have a clear succession plan. I'm sure they'll have one or two bandits who can step in, but eventually they too will be taken out. And when they are taken out, we move forward again. The next one that comes will be taken out. So on and so forth, until we get to the bottom of this. But let me also tell you, terrorism is not, there's no handbook on terrorism. Terrorists take their strategy from their environment. They look at the environment, they deploy their tactics according to the environment. So we'll see how the environment plays out, and we'll see how we too can respond to that environment and continue to behead that leadership until it goes to dust. That's my take on that.
All right. Mr. Niboro, I'm glad that we have you here, someone who's worked in a very critical position, especially with somebody who is a principal, a president for that matter, so you know how these things work. Now, let's zoom out of the current conversation for just a little bit. While still connected, I want to know what you think about the relationship between Nigeria and the United States. Yes, we're in cooperation, but my question, carefully crafted, is at what cost in the end? Because we've seen America do this, come in as the hero, and they are leaving as landlord eventually. What do you think this will cost Nigeria? Or when do you think the air will be shut out and we might be just left to suffocate with our problems? What do you think might be too far when they ask back from Nigeria?
So let me ask you a question in return.
Libora, I asked the questions here. Go ahead.
What does the U.S. stand to gain from a country so devastated like this?
Oh.
A country where fear and terror and horror walks on four legs. A country where every day the U.S. advises their people do not go to over 20 plus states. What is it? Is it the oil? Is it the gold in Zamfara that America can get from somewhere else? America, if you look at the global map of crude oil in the world, Nigeria is not very significant. Countries like, look, America has taken virtually Venezuela. Venezuela has probably, next to Saudi Arabia, they have the largest deposits of crude oil. The third largest is Canada. Canada is an American ally, give or take these little issues with Trump today. But Canada is America's strongest and most strategic ally. Between Saudi Arabia, Venezuela, and Canada, look at the oil they have. Look at Iran now. So is it this speck of oil we have in Nigeria that Trump is going to come killing people over? No, I don't think so.
Mr. Niboro, let's zoom out even further into the African context. Now, Inam, do you know where I'm going?
Go there.
We see plenty interest in Africa now.
Yep.
It's no longer about just oil. It's about minerals, rare stones. And we know what they're coming for. Kigali only just this week. France, Macron. Yes, thank you very much, Macron. Thank you for the interest. Thank you for the cooperation and all. But we know what exactly France has been gaining from African countries, especially when we take a look at the currency, the franc. So it's never just, hey, altruistic. You can have it because we want you to be good.
Just want to help.
There's always something underneath. And that question is not yet answered. And that's a question that I'm always very, very delicately putting across to people when I have the opportunity like you. So it might not be oil, but what else? It could be bases. And how does that geopolitically base in Nigeria, for instance, put you right next to the Sahel belt? You know what's going on in the Sahel belt. What are they getting at that we're not asking yet?
You see, I want to point out to you that ISIS has been decimated in most parts of the world. Their last stronghold was in Syria, and they have been taken out there with internal Syrian rebellion. In fact, the guy who's Syrian president now, was actually a former ISIS operative, and so the rebellion came from within. The place where you have ISIS operation that is very strong right now is in the Sahel region, with Nigeria headlining it. Is it not from here that a young boy, a 22-year-old boy, attempted to bomb a Delta Airlines plane in the US? You know how many Americans will die from that? So what America is doing is trying to nip it in the bud from the source before you transport it to their soil. That, I think, is the strategy. Talking about minerals, of course, yes, Africa is rich in minerals. We haven't done much with our wealth in minerals. But I think that what we need to do is to negotiate our way forward. This is what we have. You want it. What do we get in return? That is what countries do. That's what nations do. That's what individuals do. You are, both of you, hardworking journalists, sitting here early at this hour.
So,
you
Mr.
are
Ima,
working for a news. Yes.
I'm so sorry. We are pressed with time, but I'm listening to the conversation, to some of your responses. So it sounds as though you are in agreement that to a certain extent, there is something that they would want in return as well. If you're going to make mention of the young man that tried to bomb Delta and then the proximity with regards to the Sahel and whatever terrorist groups we have in the Sahel, which means it is mutually beneficial. There is something that the United States stands to benefit from coming to our aid. Can we agree that...
Definitely.
So they do have something. They do have something to gain. Then it's not them just coming to partner with Africa and say, "Let's eradicate your problems." There's something that they would want in return.
Well, I hate
naturally.
I just wanted to say something that.
Yes, please.
I was satisfied with your nip it in the bud explanation, Inam. This is directed at my co-host here. I was satisfied with that because, quite frankly, yeah, it's a strategic effort. And if you nip it in the bud real quick, it costs you less. And we know how much America spends on counterterrorism. But back to Inam's initial question, please, Mr. Niboro. Go ahead.
Should I continue?
Yes, so there is no, yes, my dear sister, there is no free lunch anywhere. I don't think the Americans are coming here to give you free lunch. You know what it costs them to launch a Tomahawk missile? One Tomahawk missile costs about $1.5 million to produce. That's almost 2 billion naira for one missile. So if they send those missiles to some desert area outside Sokoto, why is America spending 2 billion naira to kill terrorists? Is it because they love you? No. But because they do not want those terrorists, to board there and then export this terrorism to their own country.
Mr. Niboro, my apologies.
Yes.
We have very little time, and I'm being told that our second guest has actually joined. Mr. Awal Aliyu, security analyst, has joined us. Awal, thank you very much for joining us. I'm sure you've been listening to our conversation, and it's been very interesting, but I only have an opportunity for one question with you as we're out of time. Awal, we've seen the bombing, we've seen the celebration, but there are also still speculation and rumors about some of these bombings that Nigeria has been carrying out affecting civilian population, collateral damage. What do you have to say about that regarding strategy, intelligence sharing, generally intelligence sharing? How targeted can we get to make sure that it's specific on the target?
Well, thank you very much. That is one of the reasons why there is this collaboration and cooperation between Nigeria and the United States of America in terms of intelligence gathering, strategy, and of course the approach on how to nip, just like my brother there said, nip it on the board. Now, intelligence is very, very vital when it comes to war, most especially guerrilla warfare, where you are fighting the person you don't know, but the person who is fighting you knows who you are, where you are. in fact, even monitoring your movement as you move, but then you do not know him because he has no specific location that you will say that this is where I'm going to get him or this is how I'm going to bring him down. That intelligence gathering is very, very important. And like I said, that was why the American soldiers are collaborating with the Nigerian armed forces in order to find a lasting solution to this very problem that is really challenging Nigerian stability and, of course, national development. So, but then for you to get intelligence, you also need to work with everybody that is around. What I mean by everybody that is around, here I'm trying to say that you need to bring everyone that matters on board, from civil society organizations, women associations, youth associations, community leaders, religious leaders, security agencies, then we're past security or retired or ex-security agencies. You need to bring everybody on board and do what I call community information and intelligence committee. That community information and intelligence committee's responsibility is to ensure that whatever the inflow and outflow of information from the lowest of the lowest in the community level to the highest of the highest as far as the country is concerned. Now, that kind of committee, as at the community level, grows to the local government level, grows to the senatorial level, to the state level, and of course, regional level and the national level, where information bottom top and top bottom can be flowing at a time that is required, and also for the personnel or the security agencies to be at alert so that they can, it's not going to be responsive, but you need, it is being planned.
I am very sorry to cut you, but I really needed to answer one last question, and as summarily as you can. We've seen the strategy of the terrorists also change. Now they're attacking military installations. What does this say about their state?
Well, it is a simple thing. They need to put fear into the community. And I think the journalists also, I'm sorry to say this, are assisting them in achieving their goal and target. They needed to do something to indicate that they are on ground, and to also put fear within the citizens and possibly within the members of the security agencies. That was why they are doing what they are doing. But I can guarantee you, the security agencies are up and doing, and then they are nipping it. Like I said earlier, these people knows who they are fighting, but the security agencies do not know who they are fighting. You know, that is the way it is going. So if I know that I'm fighting you because you are wearing uniform, and everybody knows you are the one that is in charge of fighting me, but you do not know me, then I'll adopt different method of getting to you while it is difficult for you to get to me, and that is why the intelligence is very, very important here.
Mr. Aliyu, Mr. Niboro, thank you very much for having this impromptu conversation, but it was very interesting and intelligent as well. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you for having us.
Welcome again. Now let's talk about the boy child. For generations, many boys across Africa have been raised with one instruction above all else: be strong, but strength was rarely explained. So boys learned silence instead of expression, pressure instead of vulnerability, performance instead of identity. And today, many young men are trying to understand who they are in a world where expectations keep changing faster than guidance. The International Day of the Boy Child is becoming more important because the conversation around masculinity is shifting globally. Questions around emotional health, fatherhood, social media influence, violence, loneliness, and purpose are now central to how boys grow into men. In Nigeria especially, many boys are navigating economic uncertainty, online pressure, and emotional isolation without the language to process any of it.
Joining us this morning are Ruth Dunmaid and Aliyu Suleiman to help us unpack what healthy masculinity should look like, especially in today's world, and what society may be getting wrong about the boy child. Thank you so much for joining us. Ruth, I will start with you. Many boys are taught to suppress emotions early. We've seen that, we've experienced that. But what are the long-term psychological effects, and how does this, have, what does this exactly have on adult men today?
Okay, good morning. I didn't get the line clearly. So please, could you come back again? I didn't get it clearly.
My question to you was, when we look at the early developments of the boy child, right? Boys are taught at an early age to suppress their emotions. We've seen that. Some of us have experienced that, especially. What long-term, when we look at psychologically, what long-term effect does this have? And how does this then resonate and affect them when they come into adulthood and become men?
Okay, thank you so much for having me this morning. Thank you. A lot of psychological effects, a lot of emotional effects that we'll be addressing today. One of it is aggression. That is the effect you will be seeing from the boy child when they are not being allowed to express appropriately. You will see them being aggressive. Another thing, you will see them being withdrawn. Not only being withdrawn, they are probably looking for ways to man up because that is what the society is expecting them to do. You start seeing some sort of risky behaviors, addiction, violence. You see the culture of silence affect the boy child because they have told them, you need to bring results. You need to bring solution. They keep giving them and walking them up because of the kind of environment we found ourselves, or we found, or they have found themselves. So these are the kind of things that could come up. But you see, when we're talking about this, we know that the future of the society depends majorly on the emotional health of the boy child. Why did I say that? There are lots of extremes a lot of boy child has heard while growing up. Even right now, some of them are men. And those things haven't left them. Aren't you seeing what is happening in our families? Aren't you seeing what is happening in marriages, relationships? Masculinity has gone to the extreme. Masculinity should not become a toxic dominance. That is my thinking. Masculinity should not become, it should not make the boy child to be confused about their identity. Rather, balanced masculinity is something that we should always advocate. What are balanced masculinity? We are talking about responsibility. Balanced masculinity involves compassion. Teach the boy child to be compassionate towards people around them, towards people within them, around their circle, even people they don't even know. Compassion, teaching the boy child discipline. Those are the kind of things we should
all right,
be
so Ruth, so I like that you've gotten to this point. Ruth, I like that you've gotten to this point where you're talking about teaching the boy child, but are we paying enough attention to other things? Are we paying attention to child depression? Are we paying attention to addiction during your teenage years? Are we paying attention to emotional burnout due to other cultural influences like religion or culture itself? Are we paying attention to those things? And what are the effects of not paying attention to these on the boy child?
Now, who are those to pay attention to
Good
these
question.
things? You and I. The men in the society, the women in the society. You know, a lot of times we are seeing that a lot of men or boys have been over-mothered and under-fathered. Let the truth be told. Men know how to talk to men. Men know how to mentor men. Unfortunately, the society keep evolving because a lot of our men are so busy and they are back home, they are overused, they are overworked already. They have little or nothing to offer to their sons. What happened to everyone in the society being mentors to these people? The society keep breaking up, breaking down. Look at what is happening. A lot of time we want to seclude our sons from the outside world because we don't know what other children are being taught. So it is everybody's responsibility, the father's responsibility, the mother's responsibility. Now, you see, we have seen a lot of relationship decadence in marriages. Now, father goes to one side, the mother goes to the other side. Sometimes you see the children being raised by their mothers. Mothers are raising boy child. Now, Those kind of situations are things that we should put into cognizance and into consideration. As a woman, if by circumstances, either divorce, separation, death, has removed the male figure from the life of your son, please, please, and please be intentional about it. Don't say, I don't want the man around my children. I don't want him around. If he is toxic, that is an extreme. But if he is not a toxic person towards the children, allow them in their lives. Then if you feel they are not there and they are not available, look for male mentors, male figures to be there in the boys' life, because there are certain things men want to talk to men about. There are certain things, I know women, we are doing a lot. But you see, a woman is a woman and a man is a man. So these things, when we don't do it.
Ruth, I have a question for you, please, if you can hear me. It's a very interesting statement that you have just made there, especially when we're looking at the African rhetoric and what it is to be a woman. For example, if I could just digress a little bit to just get to the point that you just made. I was raised by a single mother, not necessarily because there was no father present. My father passed away, right? And I had a brother who, of course, was raised by my mother. But I come from a family where predominantly there were necessarily no male figures. Are you then, in essence, saying that the mother now has the responsibility to look for a man that can help raise the boy or child to necessitate a situation that the male child is raised right? Because ideally, if you can go and raise something, and of course, we come from different regions, what's the word?
Cultures?
We come from various cultures. If you were to tell a South African woman that you should go and look for a man to help raise her son, that would come off as a bit of an offensive statement. So I'm trying to see that if you find a situation where someone does not have the ability to do that, are we saying that the boy child that is raised by the female is always going to be at a disadvantage or prone to certain things like depression or identity crisis and all of that?
Okay, now thank you so much for that point and observation. Now, I'm not saying in any way that when boys are being raised by women, women do bad jobs. However, there is a place for a male figure in one's life, and there is a place for a female figure in one's life. Let's not get these things twisted. Now, your situation, your father wasn't available because of either death. These things happen. We cannot have everlasting life. Men may live our lives due to different circumstances. I think as mothers, once a while, if we could, we should do that. We are doing it not because we feel we are lacking something. We are doing it because we still need them to hear the other voice. We still need them to hear I think, and I know, I have a son, I am married, and there is a way fathers talk to their sons or brothers talk to brothers, and they connect better because they feel, you see, sometimes I'm talking to my boy and he's like, Mommy, you don't understand. Mommy, you don't understand. But when the father says the same thing in different manner, there is a connection. Now, mothers are doing great jobs. As for cultural differences, the truth about it is men are men, women are women. So we should not mix it. So if a woman is doing that job, I think you still need the support of either a mentor. It could be a mentor on digital platform. You could see some men doing certain things that you admire. It must not necessarily be all women doing these things, because we are talking about masculinity. We are talking about men, for them to be with themselves, to support one another. That is why you see that when men are being overmodern, it shows in relationship, one way or the other, overmodern. It shows. You see, a man that should talk about things gradually and intentionally, they are flogging it. You know, women will flog issue a lot of times. Now, I'm not saying generically. There are some women too that have grown up with men, and they've learned how to be very rational in their thinking, very pragmatic, and very, very intentional about their thought line. So in this thing, no matter what we do, let's try. Because why did God create the man and the woman? They all are bringing different things to the table. So let's not underplay anyone's role in this relationship.
Awesome.
That is why a woman is a man, and that is why a man is a woman.
All right,
so these things are things we should do intentionally and just allow some male figures in our sons' lives. It helps in a long way.
Ruth, sorry, apologies, I'm going to have to interject because we are pressed by time. You've made mention of an over-mothered boy child. What does an over-fathered boy child look like, especially when we look at the masculinity? Because you've seen instances where a boy is badly behaved and then he makes a response like, but that's how I saw my father do it. So what does an over-fathered boy child look like?
Now, anything that goes to the extreme has its effects. Anything that goes to the extreme. Now, so for some people, masculinity is power, is dominance, is control. That is what they understand or interpret by masculinity. Unfortunately, that is not just it. There are some boys, they've grown with their fathers because their father never knew better. Their fathers have not seen a situation or created an environment where they could hug their sons. You see, fathers, they are so rigid because of where they are coming from. So we still have those extreme over-fathered sons that feel that you have to control your woman. You have to control the ladies around you. You have to dominance. Now we have role models that we know that when you see ideal fathers or ideal men, these are men that have emotional regulation, that understand emotional intelligence, that understands that there are boundaries, that understand that it does not mean that if I flaunt it, I must go as a man, I should go for it because as a woman, I flaunted it. We are talking about men that have disciplined their sons and told them that there is responsibility, there are consequences to your action. There are responsibilities attached to it. This is me telling men, you don't need to be so strong and dogma when it comes to raising the boy child. You should be able to have affectionate conversation. A lot of times, men hardly have affectionate conversation. A lot of times, men hardly want to validate their sons because they want you to man up. They want you to have control because that is how they interpret masculinity. They forget that masculinity is constraint. It is regulation. It is emotional intelligence. That is what it means to say, I have this thing in control. Those are part of the things I think men should be projecting, not about you controlling who. Men, learn how to listen to your sons. Because a lot of times, these boys are looking for who will listen to how they feel. Mothers have that proclivities always to want to listen. But you see, fathers, they are too busy. Too busy, always ready to go to one event or the other, look for one goal. Or stop telling men that achievement is only when you bring money.
All right, then, Ruth.
Let them know it's not when you bring money. It is honor. It is dignity. It is respect.
Sorry, Ruth. We do wish we had more time because you're talking
very
facts
passionate
here and very passionate about it. But we'd like to end it here because we have just only one more slot for another conversation. But thank you very much for bringing these matters to light. And we hope that fathers out there are listening to you and that the condition with our boy child, especially here in Nigeria, improves better. Thank you very much, Ruth, for joining us to have the conversation.
Were you over-mothered or over-fathered?
I was brought up in a culture that had its own nuances when it comes to excesses and deficiencies. So I turned out all right, I guess.
I think so.
Thank you, Ruth.
Thank you so much, Ruth.
Much appreciates.
Now, moving away from that, Mazino, should I just jump right into it?
Yes, let's just jump right into Focus Africa, shall we? All right, let's do Focus Africa now.
And the focus this week is on South Africa, where South African President Cyril Ramaphosa is once again facing serious political pressure after renewed impeachment proceedings linked to the Farmgate scandal. The controversy centers around the theft of hundreds of thousands of dollars allegedly hidden inside furniture in a private ranch, raising questions about transparency, accountability, and what the abuse of office looks like. Now, what makes this moment significant is not just the scandal itself, but what it means for South Africa's political stability. Ramaphosa built much of his reputation around anti-corruption and reform after Zuma years. Now, so for many South Africans, this case carries symbolic weight, even as the African National Congress leadership publicly backs him. Opposition parties continue to push for deeper investigations and possible impeachment.
Now, joining us this morning is Kingsley Makubela to help us understand the political implications of the moment for South Africa and the wider continent. Kingsley, you're welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. So, I should say, Ambassador, please tell us.
Your Excellency.
Your Excellency. Now, how damaging is the Farmgate scandal to Ramaphosa's image as an anti-corruption reformer himself?
Mazinya, good morning. Good morning, Inam. It's not only damaging to the reputation of the president himself, but to the reputation of the country. It's quite a serious thing that the highest court in the land has made a decision that the president must go through an impeachment process. And if you listen to or read the ruling, the president of the Constitutional Court said the ANC used the majoritarian position in parliament to shield the president from accountability. It did not go into the substance of the matter, but procedurally, the court argued that it was flawed, that the president was never held accountable by parliament. That's where we are. You would know, Mazinho, now that the president has subsequently decided to take the report of the Ngobo for a review. Ngobo is a former Chief Justice who conducted the preliminary investigation mandated by parliament. And he came up with the findings that there are bases that the president may have violated the law. And that's where the issue is.
Now, we did see that the ANC has publicly rallied behind him despite the renewed impeachment process. Is this genuine confidence or just, a political positioning for the ANC?
The judgment comes at a very precarious time for the Republic. South Africa is facing isolation spearheaded by the United States. The Europeans seems to be tested too in the isolation. You recall that Ramaphosa being disinvited to the G20 later next month, the G7 later next month. And we've had incidents here of attacks on foreign nationals. So there's a resentment towards South Africa, both within the continent and outside the continent. So it really dents the reputation of the country. But the ANC has had a tendency always to come up and defend its president. It's not the first time. During the Zuma era, when there was a clear abuse of the resources of the state to build a private place, the ANC came up to really try to convince the public that a swimming pool is a fire pool. So you're seeing the same approach now. But unfortunately, if you look at the behavior of the ANC during the electoral process, it's hemorrhaging. So it has a direct correlation to the electoral process. The ANC now, it's facing very serious challenges. It's likely to keep on hemorrhaging if this thing goes ahead.
And now we've seen now, of course, we saw through the EFF, they were really spearheading this thing. When we look at the legal accountability, especially from the ANC, how much of the factional politics within the ANC is there in itself?
The big problem within the country, and particularly within the ANC, it's to take political issues and make them legal issues. And legal issues are quite challenging by nature. So that's where the big problem is in terms of how the ANC has been handling challenges from amongst its own members. For instance, the president has the prerogative to appoint and dismiss ministers. But the president would often say, well, he's not proven guilty, and he'll come up with those issues. It's a political prerogative. You can't make it a legal issue. What he needs to do, in my own view, is to weigh the political ramification of the behavior within his cabinet. Similarly, the ANC has to weigh the political ramification of the continuing impeachment of its president or the continuing legal process that against its own president. Quite honestly, the ANC, not only the president, the ANC will be on the stand. Whatever the outcome of the legal process that the president is taking would have a direct impact on the standing of the ANC. And as I said earlier, the ANC is hemorrhaging politically within the country. So it's likely to be a very big challenge.
Mr. Gbajabiamila, first of all, I love Ramaphosa. I don't know why. I just like the guy. I hate to see him under so much fire. But then we're talking about accountability. We're also talking about positioning. In South Africa, this is not the first time. South Africa has already experienced years of political fatigue like this after corruption scandals under previous administration. So I'm wondering what this does to or for public trust.
Mazinho, public trust, it's deeping within the ANC. That's why the ANC could not secure an outright majority during the last general election. There are local government elections that are coming up sometimes in November this year. And I think it will be a litmus test for the ANC's support. But given the challenges that you've seen around playing itself around the country, we currently have a commission here called the Madlanga Commission that looks into a criminal syndicate within the justice system and much more focus on the police. And what is coming out of this is quite damning. And it's quite damning because there are instances where ANC members are involved. And there's a gentleman who's been arrested the day before yesterday who has close links to the ANC. So individuals that have the proximity to the ANC getting involved in this kind of thing, but by nature, they really damned the reputation of the country. So it's of the party and of the country. So it's not looking well for the ANC. And my worry, Mazinho, is that the ANC deals with these matters as legal issues instead of dealing with them as political issues and distancing themselves as political issues and taking concrete action against wrongdoing by its members. To the president's credibility, reputation and credibility is quite important. The president has just taken a decision, to his credit, 2 days ago, to dismiss a minister who literally, from what is coming out of the media, took donations to the ANC party and gave this to her family. There's another minister who's done the same. The president hasn't taken a decision. This minister is in the president's office, and it's almost the same scandal. So these scandals are having a serious reputations on the credibility, not only of the government, but also on the party.
Okay. Mr. Gbajabiamila, thank you very much for joining us. This is only as much time as we can take on this conversation because we have a very important a message that's just come through. In fact, it's breaking news, but thank you very much for joining us to have this conversation.
Thank you, Mazinho.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Now, breaking news reaching us from our correspondent in Abuja. We're now going to cross live to Kuje in the Federal Capital Territory, where the All Progressives Congress primary elections is currently underway as party members head to the polls across the country. Our correspondent Sumaya Abubakar is actually on ground and she joins us with the latest developments. Sumaya, we're crossing over to you now. Do tell us what's happening currently right now in Kuje. Sumaya, I hope you're there. I hope we have you. Once again, it's breaking news coming in from Abuja. We are hoping that we can connect with our correspondent Sumaya, who is at the Kuje in the Federal Capital Territory. The All Progressives Congress primaries is going on right now. We'd like to know exactly what the details are regarding the matter that has just broken. So hopefully, Sumaya, you can hear me. Please do tell us what's happening in Kuje right now.
Good morning, Mazino. Yes, we are currently in Kuje Area Council and, of course, in front of the INEC office here. So based on the information that we have garnered from the Independent National Electoral Commission, Kuje chapter, it's the people in there having a meeting. We have few numbers of people. And according to the coordinator there, he said that, of course, in the electoral umpire's plan is to send in about 10 monitors, and then these 10 monitors are to be sent into each ward, which is an encompassing of 10 wards in the Kuje Area Council. Now, of course, the election is not going to be at the party secretariat. It's meant to be at the 10 different wards in Kuje Area Council, and then afterwards, then they would be they come to the INEC office to get the materials, share it to these 10 wards, and then after the election, that they move to the party secretariat in order to collate, and of course the result would now be announced. So basically this is the information that we have on ground from the Kuje Area Council on the APC primary election.
So Maya, I'm going to repeat my question. Can you tell us anything about the materials for the elections that are to be distributed?
There are no details particularly on what is meant to be distributed from the Independent National Electoral Commission. Now, we did ask them, and based on what we have noticed, there seemed to be a bit of gap in communication. All we were able to, get is the fact that there are few monitors that are being discussed. Of course, we have two of them just walking in, to the office. So there's a bit of movement, but we got the information that this would be distributed from the INEC, from the party chairman in Kuje Area Council. And when we came here, they were asking if we also got enough details. This is, of course, the people present here asking us if we have more details on the information. So I would say there's a bit of gap of information so far from, the electoral umpire on the national level to the local government level. And also there's a bit of, lack of communication from the APC, especially in the Kuje ward. So we've seen a lot of activities happening around the Kuje Area Council with people going about different locations, and it was difficult, honestly, getting to this point to get the right information. So I would say there's been a bit of distortion of communication in terms of the APC primary election and the Independent National Electoral Commission. Back to you.
Well, thank you very much, Sumaya. I think we've got enough information now. We will continue to come back to you subsequently for more information, either in breaking busts or maybe during our bulletins. Thank you very much. And I believe now is when we say our goodbyes inside of Breakfast Extra. You soldier, thank you very much.
Am I a soldier? I'm
Yes,
so proud
you
of you. You called Makubele's name right today.
Well, I got tutelage.
You deserve a visa.
Thank you. And Ramaphosa as well.
You mentioned it very well as well. You're doing good. You're doing
learning.
good.
Now track Gbajabiamila.
You what?
Gbajabiamila.
Gbajabiamila.
Oh, girl.
Are you playing with me? Don't try me.
This is how we say our goodbyes for the Saturday edition, but not to worry, we'll be back again for a Sunday one. So join us then. Inam's going to be giving a stellar monologue this time, and oh boy, it's going to raise some hairs.